Hello, hi, and welcome again to the Terminal Podcast, where in the end, it's all about the numbers. This is a show about baseball, when in season, but with nostalgia, sending plenty hot takes at the ready to look up Oscar Charleston. It's not always baseball season. I am your host, and we are broadcasting high above Civic Center Station in downtown Atlanta. And tonight, two THS grads will talk about baseball before we were born and why it matters. If asked about your high school experience, Chris, to paraphrase the movie Office Space, what what would you say you did here?
I said fun. I don't know. We can get into a whole discussion about high school. My high school experience was nice. I had friends. It was the town I grew up in. I knew everybody. Played some sports. Drank some beer. Smoked some weed. Like whatever. Had a good
As you
time.
did in high school. Tyler Kepner, apparently of the Athletic now, was outside of Philadelphia in high school and got a press pass to cover the Phillies because he knew what he wanted to do and says how bad the Phillies were in the late 80s. But he went on to cover both the Mets and the Yankees as a beat writer for the Times for a decade before becoming a national baseball writer, eventually helping this grand movement that started in 2020. COVID and the whole 60 game season of 2020, which we all love to forget, truly legitimized the shortened Negro League seasons and all that fun stuff and the sparking of controversy for numbers nearly a century old from players we've never seen. But critics will say, well, Josh Gibson only played against other black teams, says Larry Nestor, an author and longtime Negro Leagues researcher who served on the committee. This is all from The Athletic. Well, Babe Ruth never hit a home run off a black pitcher, and Josh Gibson never hit a home run off a white pitcher. So I guess my point is, Chris, is what do you think of all these numbers and how it affects or doesn't affect the way you view the game of baseball?
Well, first of all, I'm going to laud myself.
Hmm.
I'm probably more educated on the Negro Leagues than most of the people giving hot takes here. Okay. I've
Hmm.
read several books about the Negro Leagues, including Only the Ball Was White. I Was Right on Time by Buck O'Neill. I've been to the Negro League Baseball Hall of Fame in Kansas City, and I've encouraged any person I've ever known that went to Kansas City to go to the Negro League Baseball Hall of Fame. I've watched documentaries about the Negro Leagues. I've read books, 4 different books on Jackie Robinson, okay, who started in the Negro Leagues before he came to Major League Baseball. All right. So I'm just as educated as anyone who's going to give a hot take on this. It's dumb to include those numbers. Now, I'm glad, and I use the angry white guy, and Di Cobb's not the leading here. It has nothing to do with that. Okay, so shut up with that. People are going to say, "Oh, just to whatever, to whatever they're going to call me." You know what I mean?
Yeah,
The
that's
people that
fine.
listen to this. Um, uh, Again, I don't have to defend myself and my race relations record if you want to say that. Whatever. I'm doing a podcast with a black guy I've known for 35 years. Okay.
Mm.
Martin's black, by the way, for anyone who didn't know that. I know
He
he hides
looks
the thing. Um,
he looks like a building. I don't know. I think
the problem, well, there's several problems, and I love that you included that thing by the guy.
oh, Kepner.
Right.
Oh, the Kepner or no, the
No, the other guy.
Larry Lester, one of the guy who did all
Right.
the
Okay.
research
Larry
and all
Lester.
this.
I was
Yeah,
just was getting it up on my thing.
that's fine.
I was not trying to minimize Larry Lester by not knowing his name. Um,
No,
I totally agree with what he's saying. That Babe Ruth never hit a home run off a black pitcher. Josh Gibson never hit a home run off a white pitcher. There's a couple layers to that. One is, and this is just a statistical fact, that when the Negro Leagues were going, and Josh Gibson and Oscar Charleston and Martin Tehigo and Satchel Paige and all these guys, right? The black population in the country was about 9%. Okay.
mhm.
So they played against 9% of the population. Babe Ruth played against 91% of the population. So you can make an accurate statistical analysis of Babe Ruth stats, Ty Cobb, Hank Greenberg,
Can,
whatever the like.
can I?
It was against 91% of the population. However, when I got into my teen years and I started understanding more about the Negro Leagues and the gentleman's agreement to not allow black players and all that into the major leagues after Moses Fleetwood Walker in the 1890s, Yes, I'm just dropping knowledge on people just to prove myself, by
Please
the way.
continue. Please
Uh,
continue.
it's why I've always been reluctant to name any player whose career majority happened before 1950 as the greatest of all time,
Mm,
because
yeah,
they
because you
didn't play
didn't
against a
play
segment of the
against.
population that,
Fair point.
once they were allowed to play, proved they were quite formidable.
Fair.
Am I right? I mean, well, you
Oh
just
yeah.
line Hank Aaron, Willie Mays, Roberto Clemente. Like, they proved they were pretty good at the game and could compete with all the white guys, right? And I mean, the white guys knew it. Everyone knew it, but it was
Yeah.
racism. The other thing is, and this is the word or the phrase that you hear, it rights a historical wrong.
Mm,
No, it doesn't.
no, it
Those
doesn't.
guys didn't get to play. That's the historical wrong. That those guys were denied the opportunity to make Major League roster and play Major League Baseball. This doesn't write any of that.
I would say technically you can't really write history because history is sort of already written, and if you're rewriting it, you'd be erasing history or changing it, which would therefore not be history. It would be something different. But
Right.
please continue.
um. So again, you're not writing the historical wrong. We don't have a time
No,
machine. We can't go back and let Josh Gibson play. The other thing is, and I didn't know that about Kepner, that he started championing this after the COVID season. This has been a long time that there have been people wanting to do this.
oh yeah, no,
Obviously.
it sort of coincided. I'm not. It wasn't a specific thing. He was, from what I read over this whole thing, he it kind of timed up with him looking into it
Okay.
and sort of like that. But it was, they decided on the it was really the inclusion of the COVID season was sort of timed with when they decided they were gonna do something else with the Negro Leagues, and that's kind of when it wasn't necessarily, I can't speak to the timing of it to say that
Right.
it
No,
was
but that
afterwards,
helped.
but it's around the same time that it was like,
That helped
okay,
invigorate it some more, I guess,
yeah,
maybe.
because it becomes a
There's
shortened
not
season.
a red-blooded baseball fan, writer, anybody that if I'm trying to think, if Mike Trout slugged 850 in the COVID season, that would have counted that as the highest slugging percentage of all time. Not a single one. Not you, not
No,
me, not the people listening. So
true.
to to piggyback that argument, and that's one of my arguments against this, is again the season in question that they're talking about, Josh Gibson. He played 69 games.
But the point is the 60 games in that COVID season count
They
towards
do.
Mike Trout's stats and numbers and such.
They
So
do.
if
They
those
do
numbers,
for Major League Baseball.
but the back point of what you're saying is the inclusion when they took on the stats, they included a bunch of leagues that happened before Major League Baseball became MLB. Like like there are, I mean, like, I'm not, once again, as I said before, these are all baseball games and stuff like that that I've not seen before, that hasn't happened in the last half century, even more so. Like even you going back to the inclusion of all athletes of color, black and Hispanic and everything like that.
Mm,
Because that's the other thing. It's like there were Cuban leagues, there were Mexican leagues that were
well,
the only leagues where people of color, of that color, could play because they couldn't play in the
right.
major leagues. Not just the Negro leagues, is what I would hope with all
Correct.
this, but I don't know, because there are people who are looking at box scores and game summaries, and they've got this whole thing like certifying it's got to be a complete box score, and it's not just so and so or this one team got the box scores, it was a barnstorming thing. They've got
Mm,
this whole detailed thing, and it's like, and you know kudos to them, because that wouldn't be something that I would ever want to truly delve that deep into looking back that deep into the history of it, because like you say, at the end of the day, you can't change the fact that Josh Gibson never played on the same field as Babe Ruth unless it was a barnstorming thing
right.
outside
Which
of the
they did from
country,
time to time. They did. But
because it's not like it could
yeah.
happen here in America. So yeah.
But the other thing is with the shorter seasons that they played, or that they, I mean, I'm looking at Baseball Reference here now. I'm gonna get into a little minutia with this. Is
Please.
it says, it openly says Negro League data is not complete.
because it's not. They
because
still
it's
they
not. And again, it's not nobody's fault. It's not the fault of
oh
the
no no
then it's not. But
they
to include in to include admittedly incomplete data.
no they when they well I am not speaking for Baseball Reference or this, but what I've read is there still is another couple of years worth of stats and things like that that they need to completely up, but everything that they have to this point is certified and is complete to
Right,
that.
everything's certified, but they readily admit the data is not complete. Another
Yeah.
thing is with the incomplete data, again, Josh Gibson is rumored to have hit maybe 800 home runs. Do you know
Mm-hmm.
how many home runs they haven't compiled for in the 14 years of data that they've compiled?
When I pay it's what 250 or 300, whatever like that. Yeah. It's not
166.
yeah, yeah.
166.
Because that's the only those are only from the box scores that they were able to
Right,
certify and everything and get do whatever certification process they had to go through. That was the certification process that proved he hit
right,
that many home runs. But because as we said, there were he played a lot of games. It like you probably know they were barnstorming. They were only able to play on fields like after
a certain
the
time.
change,
No,
yeah, and things like that.
100%.
So those games don't count. So he probably
Right.
did hit. I mean, but I'm not. But yeah, he probably did hit
But again,
800.
though, part of the
But
reason
it's
those
not.
games not counted may have been like not that they were incomplete games, but
Mm-hmm,
again, they weren't. And you were talking about the other leagues not under Major League Baseball at the time. There's very few of that. There's a couple leagues like that, but
mm-hmm,
all other Major League Baseball statistics fall under either the National League before it became merged as Major League Baseball with the American League, under the rules, the guidelines, and all that. But we have rules and guidelines for a reason. The
mm-hmm.
Negro League rules and guidelines were not as established.
I
Again, there's a million reasons for this. Nobody's blaming anybody.
no, no, I'm not saying any type of blame, but I'm
Also,
saying
so Baseball Reference is not the official.
no, it's
It
not.
is Elias Sports and on MLB.com. So this is where you also get into some discrepancies. MLB.com, for instance,
Mm-hmm.
okay, has different numbers than Baseball Reference does
Okay.
for these Negro League players.
Because baseball MLB is taking what they're specifically certifying, and Baseball
Right.
Reference is probably taking some
No,
of
but the
those.
Major League
Oh,
Baseball ones have more certified than what Baseball Reference is taking. But then also
so
Baseball Reference is crediting with the single season batting average of 471 to Titilio Vargas
yeah,
in
I was gonna say that was
1943
this was
in the Negro National League 2,
mm-hmm.
which
and
Josh
then
Gibson played in, and Vargas is considered the batting champion that year.
and then Vargas like turns 30 and like dies like a year later. Like that's why
Right.
he's
Well,
not
so
in
why?
the yeah.
So on Baseball Reference, Vargas is known as the batting champ that year. I mean,
I
you're telling me Gibson
all
is the
time
highest
single
all
season
time. So
is
this
the
is my point that
mm-hmm.
we don't have to have this discussion with the 1923 AL batting title that Rogers Hornsby won or whatever.
Okay. I'm not look. I'm look.
I
Hey,
know you're not disagreeing with me. I
no, I'm not.
agreeing or disagreeing, but
So
to me,
with that,
that's an issue.
with that being said, Satchel Paige is believed to have turned 38 during the 1944 season, and it would have
Mhm.
been a Negro League season where he posted a 1.01 ERA, and that now ranks as the third greatest,
Right.
best season all time, ERA season. There are a lot of others that are going to be single season records that are going to throw this and that off, but and career numbers. But and I know this is dear to your heart, which is the
Career
most
numbers not as
notable
much because they just didn't have as many games, box scores for as many
that
games. So
too.
career like
Career averages, like
career
OPS and things like
averages,
that.
yes, but
Yeah.
not career totals.
Well, career totals, averages doesn't make a difference. The most notable name in all of the changes and all this that sticks around is one Barry Bonds. So that 444 career on base percentage dropped from fifth to eighth all time. His name is alone on all these lists among anyone that's truly lived and played that anyone sentient right now is able to account for. Everyone else in the top 10 played in segregated leagues, whether it's Ted Williams for the first 5 of his 19 seasons, or it's Josh Gibson, or it's
Hmm.
Oscar Charleston, like I said before. But Bonds is the only player in the top 10 in all these things born after World War I. So when does he get his flowers? When do we appreciate
You don't
the
you, you
ability?
don't you don't got to come to me, coach.
I know that's why I said this. I'm asking you as someone. When do we with all the numbers that are getting? Think about this. We're all talking about numbers and who this and that and this going to count and everything like that. And guess what? The guy that we all sat and watched against the same competition that everybody else got to play against, he put up these numbers. He put up these numbers, and everybody, whoever, for all the silliness about steroids, everybody was playing in the same league as everybody else. So does everybody's steroids numbers go away, or just the ones that we decide are going to be the ones with the steroid numbers and such like that?
Steroid numbers have always been about guys we don't like.
And that's the
I've been saying that for
sadness of it.
20 years.
Sadly, it really look
By the
as
way, the
the hell.
craziest Barry Bonds stat of all time is not the 609 on base percentage in 2004. In 2002, he won the batting title. Oh no, I was looking at the wrong number. Okay. No,
You're looking at the helicopter.
in 2004, he won the batting title with only 135 hits.
Because he got walked so
Because
many
he walked
times.
232. He had 373 at bats because he
Yeah,
walked 232 times.
because the manager would rather just give him the base. All right, quickly to the ice before it melts in the heat
Oh, but let me. I
of.
just want to say one thing. I just want to say one thing
Oh,
about
go
it.
ahead.
And I am. I've already talked to my girlfriend when I was watching stuff about the East West All Star game this weekend that they played up in Cooperstown as a tribute to
Hmm.
the East West All Star game, and they've opened a new exhibit in Cooperstown called Souls of the Game. And the Negro League players have been recognized in the Hall of Fame in Cooperstown since 1971 when they first
Hmm.
started electing players. And so the point, people are like, oh, we need to not forget about these people. We're not forgetting about these people. They all
No,
deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. They are in the Hall of Fame. You can go to Cooperstown and see it. They have great exhibits about the Negro Leagues. They have this new exhibit called Souls of the Game. So nobody was ever trying to erase them or not talk about them. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Big Bear,
no,
white guy.
it's it's really it's the kind of thing that it was there if you really wanted to find it. You know what I mean? And it
Yes,
wasn't anything that was really being hidden. And
correct.
as I will get to later on. But as I said, since apparently the best hockey in is played in the southern southwest part of the United States. We're down to four. Rangers, your blue shirts against the Florida Panthers, because when I think hockey, I think Miami, and Edmonton against Dallas Stars, because every now and again we need one city where both of the big games are being played at, and this year it's Dallas. But the hockey is 2-2. Uh, I'm holding you back from getting ready to celebrate and get ready for tonight. Uh, in game 5, sports fans were all guaranteed a game 6. At the very least, we're going to get 2 game 6s, something the NBA can't offer. It's Stanley Cup playoff hockey. It's about as good as American postseason sports gets. Am I am is it personally? I don't watch a lot of stuff and stuff like that. I limit what I do. Am I missing the push? Am I missing where an alarm that all this is happening, that the greatest player Conor McGregor is am I
Conor
want to say Conor McGregor,
McDavid.
McDavid, right?
Yeah, McDavid.
Is the best player, is one of, if not the best player going right now, right?
Oh yeah, no,
and
he's
and he's in the final four of the Stanley Cup playoffs, right? And
yeah.
this, why do I feel like I'm the one giving this a push as opposed to everybody else, or is it just what it is?
Well, I think what happened was, and I don't know all the numbers, the minutia, and our favorite listener, who we got nasty text messages from the other day. Um, he might know some
It's
more
always good
about
to know what that was.
the business side of hockey. But I think what happened was in the '90s, hockey experienced this growth spurt, right? With
Mm-hmm.
the hockey video games, and then ESPN, it was on ESPN, and
And the expansion into all the
the
different
expansion into the
cities.
southern
Yeah.
states, and right, and there was hockey was going great, but I think what happened was they tried, and not I don't necessarily mean expand team wise, they just tried to expand their brand so much, and their money got out of control. That's why they had to have the 2004 whatever season they actually shut down, right? And then since then they've instilled a hard cap, very very hard cap, probably the hardest in sports. Um, and I think what the people behind the sport, Gary Bettman, the commissioner now for 30 years, and the people marketing the sport said, let's just focus on our audience. We
Okay.
have a core audience
Which they
because
do.
hockey people love their hockey.
They're going to stay hockey people. They're not going
And
to
they're
chase
going to,
lacrosse.
we don't have to go and try to get NBA fans. And if people want to come, here's our product. Here it is. This is what it is. We're not trying to I don't even want to say market it because I mean, they market their sport, but they're marketing
And
more in their lane. I think maybe in the late 90s, they tried to maybe
it,
try to be again. Gary Bettman came from the NBA offices. Maybe he thought he could make the NHL like David Stern, his mentor, had made the NBA.
well, the difference being, and I think this is probably what it is there's no other, the NBA is the best national basketball league in America and the best national basketball league in the world. Like the Italian basketball league is good compared to the German basketball league, compared to the
Right.
Slovenian basketball league, but the US basketball league is the best. But when it comes to hockey, the NHL is might be the best or might be the most money, but there's you know, I mean, but like we've taken over the Canadian league, but like the Russian league, I'm assuming this now. The German, there's other hockey leagues that it's a different, right? Is that I would
Yeah,
assume that
no, but
there's
the
an
best players are
international push,
here.
but no, but the
The
best
best
players still are
players are
here.
here now.
Okay,
The best
so
international players after the fall of communism, and you could get the
mm,
players from the Czech Republic and from Russia and from all the Russian areas. So just quickly doing just a quick Google search here. It said by the end of 2004, the 2004-2005 lockout, owners were claiming that player salaries had grown far faster than revenues and that the league as a whole lost over $300 million. So
okay,
they did
well there
have
you
to
go.
have like a course correction, a market correction. I think they did that. And I think part of it was not trying to, market, like I said, just stay in their lane, understand they're never going to be football, never going to be basketball, and market to their core audience, which is a loyal audience. They
And
purchase
on
tickets, they purchase merchandise, they support the league and everything. Yeah.
and on that note, talking about a loyal audience is a perfect segue to a quick Mets take, which is true Met fans are loyal. It's just we are loyal to this orange and blue, and it doesn't make a difference who's in the jersey. We're going to root for the jersey and the team behind it and everything like that. And I'll just state it. I never assumed this was going to be an overnight fix. The 2022 season is looking more and more like this shining bright light, then it's going to come back down. But I was hoping we could sustain that, but that was then. And we were told by a brand new front office that this wasn't going to be a championship push of a season, but they were going to be competitive. They're going to compete for a playoff spot, meaning basically play 500 baseball. The foundation of this team was crap before, and that's where the money's being spent as well as on the top. I could bore you with international academies and new scouting directives, but when a middle rubber armed, but middle of the pack reliever gives up 4 runs, is taken out, tosses his glove, and then isn't properly translated from Spanish and then is properly translated and puts himself and the team down and everything like that. It's just better to focus on the trash disaster that is. So, how did the same pundits that focus on that miss the nastiness that is Louis Ski?
Luis
How does he
Gil,
pronounce? How does he pronounce it? It's
Luis
GIL, but it's
Gil.
Il.
I don't know how
Because
they missed it. A lot of people miss these. 26, he's been around
it's
a little bit. It's one of these things, I think, the analytics. Now, this is where analytics can be good. I think they looked at his numbers and said, hey, your fastball, and I know fastball is not always, because guys in the major leagues can hit any speed. They can. But your fastball obviously has some life on it. You need to increase your fastball usage. and throw it
One of
and
those
throw it
guys. I was gonna
hard and
say
throw it a lot.
he
Uh,
34 innings. Go ahead. I was gonna say
yeah, I mean,
he's
and
given
just
up 4 home
I
runs
think
and
they yeah, they did that. They looked at his usage and said maybe throw some more of those. And he's got a slider and a changeup, and so it might just be a usage thing where they looked at the numbers and really broke it down. He's pitching phenomenally.
he's got a lot of movement on his fastball. It's just a natural movement on his fastball
Yeah,
from what I saw that little bit. He had pitched 34 innings before this season. He had allowed 4 home runs. He's given up 4 home runs this year, but he's also 7-1 with a 1.99 ERA and a
yeah.
0.95 WHIP. That of all the new fancy
4.1
stats,
hits, 4.1 hits per 9 innings. I saw today.
I love WHIP because it's pretty simple. It's walks and hits per inning.
Right.
0.95, meaning people don't get on base.
So I
Um,
mean, like I said, I just said 4.1 per nine hits per 9 innings. So
yeah.
even if he gave up five, even if he walked five per 9 innings, then you're still, at a
Yeah.
1.00 whip, which is good.
All right. Well, we're talking numbers. The Mets have a 15 and 25 record against teams with records above 500. That they've played 40 games, and we've only played about 53, 54 games in this cruddy season. But 40 of them have been against teams with a better record. That's the most by anybody else in the league. Second is the Padres, and they're better than us because they're better than us. Your guys are 12-8. So you've only played 20 of them. So at some point, the schedule's got to flip. Uh, as we're going into the summer, as we're into June, and any worry about facing, I guess, a tougher part of the schedule, if that's even a thing.
No, I mean, if everybody can face everybody. So
It's just I hadn't asked you about that. Is it? I I don't know. I kind of like the thought of playing everybody, but I kind of do miss the thought of division rivals.
oh
Actually
no, I
meaning
missed that, but
something.
I missed that, but it's long gone. So
Yeah, I mean, but it's something because this is all, as we said, this is where we're still touching and going, and Theo Epstein's doing this and that, and everybody's searching out for this new fan and everything like that. So if they don't like the schedule, if people don't like the schedule, they might change it up. If they were, is there anything you'd like to see? Or are you sticking with this and you're happy and you just
I'd
don't
like to
care?
go back to ALNL,
Well, that
but I'm the
train,
guy who doesn't like Negro League stats. So
well, that's true too.
old
And
man yells
since
at cloud.
as you transition perfectly, we started talking about Negro League stats in baseball, and
Oh,
we'll
you're going to ask
close
me
with
how many doubles Buck Leonard had in 1941 with the Monarchs? I know it.
the Negro League baseball. It's the as you said, you are one of the few. It was something that was brought to the general white public attention. It was truly made aware with Ken Burns' documentary
100.
Baseball.
That's where I
Uh,
got my introduction to it. I'll readily admit that.
born in Brooklyn, Ken Burns, 18 and a half hours. Epic is the opus of the sport of baseball. His documentary on the Civil War, which is, Civil War, that earned a 9 rating with a 13% audience share on PBS. According to Wikipedia, what was the reported Nielsen rating for Ken Burns baseball? And extra credit if you can include the audience share.
No idea.
You think I'm trying to make these? You're trying to make
Seven
these
point
easier, something like this?
7.9. I have no
I
idea.
gave you, I gave you it. So you're gonna go 7.9.
I'm going to go less than the Civil War, right? I mean, by the way, the Civil War documentary is probably better than baseball, which is
So
incredible.
what number are you going with though? Seven
7.9.
7.9. You want to give a percent for the audience share?
No.
Civil War was 13.
And what was the rating for Civil War?
Civil War got a 9 rating and a 13 audience share.
Nah, I just say 7.9. Hopefully that's right about one of them.
All right. All right. There you go. 7.9 is your answer. The trivia answer, the correct trivia answer, will be in the description for the next episode. I'd like to thank our potential promotional partner, Jersey Sporting News. I'd also like to thank Chris for stopping by and wish him and everybody else, including our one confirmed listener, safe travel from the terminal. Good night.